Hey, Blockchain Bernie here, my latest episode. Quo vadis Sol? Where is the Sol price going? Holy crap, have we been on a roller coaster ride recently? And in this video, I'll dive into what the future brings, what has caused all these ups and downs that we've seen recently, and what the future brings, what the Fed and Jerome Powell has to do with it, and all these things. So make sure to watch it all the way to the end. And I'm also asking you to give me that like button. So now let's dive into the Sol price, right? So I'm looking at charts, especially if they're a little bit longer term, only in logarithmic scale, right? Because in my view, it makes no sense to have a linear scale there. When Sol goes from 30 to 40, that's a whole different thing than it goes from 190 to 200, right? It's a whole different percentage-wise gain, and we want to see that as the same distance, as the same, gain in height in that chart. Otherwise, in the long run, any chart looks like a hockey stick, right? So if we really want to get some information out of these charts, always look at them on a logarithmic scale. So this is the Sol price here, and it's all 6 months here. So what I'm showing you today is 6 months charts. 6 months ago, Sol was at $36. Can you believe that? And well, we've been at a high of around 208 or something. And but recently, after that high here, we went down all the way to like 119, 118, like the day before yesterday. Now we're back to 137, 138. So that all means, right, if we look at that, so now it all depends, right? Are you sitting on a lot of Sol holdings and trying to figure out when to sell or when to sell parts of it? Or, do you want to get in and build your positions, right? So let's see where the Sol price might be going in the next 6 months, maybe the next 1 year, 2 years. So let's look at some of the other charts here as well. So this was Solana. If we look at, for example, Bitcoin for the 6 months, we see that the curve looks actually quite similar, right? So we've been having that all the time. Altcoins are all following Bitcoin, and, other altcoins are kind of following Ethereum. So let's look at Ethereum. It looks relatively similar, right? And we've had that high here somewhere in late March, right? And late March, where all the sentiment turned, like up until then, it was like, oh, it's all easy. The inflation is going to come down again. We're not there yet at like 2%, but we're at like 3 point something, and we're getting there, right? And then we saw there was no progress, right? So inflation stayed where it is, but it didn't flare up yet, right? So this is the whole uncertainty that we have in this market here. And the stock market and crypto markets, they all hate uncertainty, right? And there has never been a time where uncertainty has been this high, because we all know that inflation drives interest rates, and interest rates drives asset prices, right? So that's the whole thing. After inflation flared up, and then interest rates went up, and interest rates stayed there for a long time. And with yesterday's Fed session, they kept them there, right? But they also said that the quantitative tightening that they have been doing is going to be lessened, right? So there's going to be a little bit more loose monetary policy, because they will sell out less of their treasuries starting June 1st, right? That is quite a dovish statement, right? The question is, can the Fed stay that dovish as it is, right? Can it afford to stay that dovish? If inflation really flares up, they would have to become more hawkish. They don't want to become more hawkish because, after all, it's election year, right? And also Jerome Powell, I mean, first of all, it's election year, but also he wants to leave a legacy, right? He wants to say, well, I'm the one that did it, right? That brought about the soft landing, right? So definitely he wants that. And the question is, will prices keep going up and up and up and up? And, there's mixed signals now. It's time of uncertainty, right? We have companies like Starbucks, McDonald's, Kentucky Fried Chicken. They all released their earnings recently, and all of these three said, we see more weakness in the consumer, especially kind of the lower income segments. And they see less demand there because of pricing, right? So that's a sign that the high interest rates are actually slowing down things, right? And we see that in so many other things. We've seen it especially with the banks, the bank earnings report. The banks tried to hide that from us a little bit, but the charge-offs are really high, right? So charge-offs means they've set aside money for when they give out loans like mortgages or credit card debt. They set aside some money for bad debt and stuff like that. And when they charge it off, they say like, oh, we're never going to get that for whatever reason. And they charge it off. These charge-offs are really, really high recently with all the major banks. I think that's a sign that the consumer is having a tougher time now, right? They default on, and by the way, defaults on EIDL loans, the disaster loans that the SBA gave out during the pandemic, are also quite high. So we see a lot of signs that, there is some delay, but the economy won't keep growing and growing at full speed with these high interest rates. But there are also different signs, right? Sometimes it's when you look at all these labor reports and stuff like that. I personally don't really trust those labor reports. Please forgive me, but many of these have been corrected after the fact. And after all, it's election year. I think the situation of the labor market is actually worse than it's being reported right now. And but still, there are positive signs that the economy is still humming. So as I'm recording this right here out my window, my neighbor is getting solar, right? And that neighbor there, the other one, got solar last month, right? And solar is a major investment, and it's very, very sensitive to interest rates because many people get their solar with a loan, and all they care about is like their monthly payment being less than their electricity payment that they used to have before. So yeah, there are signs that, things are still humming, and you don't see a lot of people on the streets that just, got bankrupt or stuff like that. So I think it just takes its time, and it probably takes a little bit longer than expected for these high interest rates that we have these days to take their toll. Anyone that can pay off their mortgage, that can pay off their credit card debt, they will do so now, which is not that good for the banks because they will earn less on their interest. And I think if we keep interest rates up a little bit longer, we will see that slowdown, and that slowdown is needed in order to get interest rates down again, right? So I personally think we're still on track. I don't think it's going to happen that inflation will be flaring up anytime soon. And let's see what JPowell also says. And yesterday said after the meeting, right? So he said, we want to be careful not to target wage growth or the labor market, right? So that means if they would hike interest rates now, they would target wage growth or the labor market, things like that. They don't want to do that. So that's a really, really dovish sign here. That's why I feel, going back to the price charts here. So let's go back to our Sol chart. It is most likely a very good time to build your positions here in altcoins. I think altcoins have a great potential to catch up towards Bitcoin, and Bitcoin definitely will go up again. The halving has happened, and it'll take alts with them, and just alts will just have a higher percentage gain than Bitcoin, as it always has happened. And all these things here, point in the same direction. And actually, I'm in a position here where I'm sitting on still a quite high amount of Sol holdings, so I would love to sell some of it. I sold some at like 195 or so, about 10% of my holdings, so that was great. But I was hoping to, sell DCA my way out, right, and sell a little bit more. Unfortunately, as we see in the chart, it went down. But then I used the event yesterday where it went down to 122. Or even lower, right? But I bought some at 122, even though actually I wanted to get out. But I thought, well, this is not a price to sell. This is a price to buy. And unfortunately, since my Sol holdings are already higher than I actually want them to be, I didn't want to buy that much, but I did buy some. And I feel by the end of the year, the Sol price should be way over $200 and hopefully even reach $300. That's my personal belief, and with it, altcoins and just risky assets in general, such as, for example, the tech stocks and stuff like that. So, yeah, those were my ramblings on the situation that we're in right now. I hope you got some information out of it. All this obviously is not financial advice. I'm neither a financial advisor, nor do I know your specific situation. So this is all just purely for entertainment purposes. I hope you enjoyed it, guys. Thanks for watching. Catch you later. Peace.